What's up, everyone? Tin Man with the Resistance. If you're watching this, you are the Resistance. Here with Revan. Just me and Revan tonight. Connor has stepped away. He's got some personal stuff going on in his life. Family comes first. No ifs, ands, or buts. So we will excuse him on this, but we will continue to honor him by picking up where we left off. I wanted to pick this up last week and subsequently this week, but again, life happens, and also politics happens. Just been watching everything with the Epstien case and all of that nonsense, and it just kind of we all know where it went, but earlier today on Yahoo News, I saw the headline for an article that insinuated that Israel was shooting itself in the foot in terms of its diplomatic relations to the United States. And that really got me thinking, is Israel maybe just deliberately trying to sabotage its relationship with the United States in order to create such high tensions of, quote, antisemitism to where the United States just says, fuck it, get the fuck out. You ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here. So just kind of like push things to the point where the United States kicks its Jewish community out so that they have to go back, so that they have to go to Israel. As has been speculated many times in the past as it pertains to other countries in order to drive traffic back to Israel, to drive the Jews back home. And Revan, you shared something interesting with me earlier today. So we're just going to backtrack a little bit back to the 1960s to something that you shared with me earlier today from the Conspiracy Files. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and give the YouTube channel, The Conspiracy Files, a plug here because they dropped an interesting documentary that I think kind of ties into a lot of what's going on now. So I think, before we speculate on, not only where this is, but where it could prospectively go, we got to backtrack a little bit to where it started. And Revan, I'm going to give it to you on this point.
Many of the gay community, the older generational gay community members remember the '68 riot in New York, back in '68. Now, the chicken bull scandal has to do with a blackmail. I mean, it's pretty much blackmail, extortion of closeted gay men.
Yeah, very, very prominent men who were essentially closet cases, for lack of a better term. No disrespect to the gay community, but in the 1960s on up to 69, prominent men who were essentially closet cases, for lack of a better term, were being blackmailed. And Reverend care to expound on that?
It all started in the 50s, in the 50s, and this was like an era of the Cold War, McCarthyism, and all that bullshit, where we had bulls, which is another name for law enforcement. The chicks, young boys. Now they use these young boys to lure in prominent gay men. for extortion. And the thing was, to keep your secret hush hush, you had to pay them a lump sum if you want to keep your secret quiet, you know. Plus, or if you don't want to testify, same thing. Got to pay a lump sum, you know.
Now, if you don't want to testify against somebody for fear of incrimination, you have to pay a lump sum, and then they'll find somebody else. Or if they caught you in the act with one of these chickens, then you would have to pay a fee in order for them to drop the charges or to not make those charges public. Now, from what I read, what I saw in that documentary is that most of the police, the bulls, weren't actually real police. They were provided uniforms, badges, and paperwork by somebody who did work in, I believe, the New York Police Department. And he was kind of working behind the scenes. He was one of three key parties.
There's one guy. He man controlled certain parts of 25 states, Canada, Mexico, and this was about knocking out professional. I mean,
this was about blackmailing closet men of very prominent stature. It was solely blackmail, ran by three key people, one of which was a con artist, one was a cop, and one was a prominent politician in the FBI by the name of Hoover. Not the vacuum guy.
Even that guy was, I mean, even he got sorted too.
Yeah.
But he went along with it because he thought he wanted an image protected. He went along with it, man.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting that a lot of the parties involved, in fact, some of the key people involved had ties to Israel, former military and intelligence. So, suffice it to say, long story short, on the chicken and bulls thing, it was kind of a private endeavor. For the most part, there was some government involvement, some government blackmail by way of the FBI through Hoover, who was the FBI director at the time. And I don't know for sure if Mossad was already in on this. I don't even know. Do we know when Mossad was created?
Mossad was created.
Can you look that up for me?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Look up when Mossad was created. Because if my information is correct, I believe Mossad came about after the fact. Not immediately after the fact, but came about after the chicken and bull scandal, which came to a head because, law enforcement didn't like the idea of con artists impersonating law enforcement in order to blackmail people, especially people of prominence.
December 13th of 49.
Okay, so Mossad actually did exist. Okay. I'm wrong then.
Yeah.
Hey?
The parent agency is the Office of the Prime Minister.
Okay.
And the agency director is... The agency executive is David Barnett, who's director. And your annual budget is $2.73 billion a year.
Oh, wow. Now, I don't know about what point Mossad and Israel clued into the blackmail thing, but I'm assuming it was probably after the chicken and bowls scandal. I'm thinking the chicken and bowls sounds like a dish. Making me hungry. I'm eating cheese sticks.
Meyer Lansky, who was a Jewish gangster, who was good friends at the time with Lucky Luciano, who was the head of the commission in New York.
Yeah.
There's weapons headed for Palestine. He made him go away.
Yeah. The ships got sunk, cargo manifests disappeared, all kinds of stuff. Like, it wasn't just blackmail. Like, they really got themselves into some heavy-duty shit. You know, Hoover,
it got pretty bad. It got pretty bad along the way, where a well-known candy entrepreneur was beaten to death.
Yeah. Beaten to death and stuffed into the passenger seat of his car. In front of two witnesses at that.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing that really went down, because that case actually ran cold for a long time. And I know some of the details are skewed. Again, go to the channel of the Conspiracy Files, and it's his most recent documentary. It's really good.
It is really good.
He took a lot of time. He took a lot of care into putting that together and making sure that he had all the names and everything correct. See, we're just kind of doing this off the cuff. I'm sitting on my couch, Revan's sitting in his room. You know, we're not going off a script. We're not making a documentary. We're doing a live roundtable. So we're not going to have all the names and details right off the top of our head. So I would again refer anybody who wants the finer details of the chicken and bull scandal to go and watch the documentary that was just released this past yesterday by the Conspiracy Files YouTube channel. And no, they're not paying me for this. Just when somebody produces good content and gets good information out there, I'll fucking plug them all day. I don't give a fuck. You get a free plug.
It's called the Chicken Hawk Scandal, America's most disturbing secret. This was 12 hours ago.
Yeah.
What was the blue suit, and why did J. Edgar Hoover, Roy Cohn, and the FBI go to extreme lengths to keep it buried? This is the secret history of the government didn't want you to know. The episode dives into the shocking story of the chicken and bulls, an underground ring and a cover-up that reached the highest level of power.
Yeah. And it would be my speculation. It would be my speculation that after the chicken and bull scandal and the subsequent success that it had prior to its downfall, I'm thinking that Israel and Mossad, I think that's where they essentially may have gotten their idea for Epstien and everything they're now doing. I think that may be the catalyst where they got the idea. They just saw that and went, "Hey,
not just
that's
that,
a good idea." Instead of money, we can blackmail politicians into doing what we want.
Well, not just that. If you remember the Reagan era, too, if you all remember the this is like the late 70s, very early 80s. You had Eitan Potts, who was kidnapped in 79, never been found. And in 81, up to about 82-ish, you had Johnny Gosh, who was one of a few kids who had their pictures on the back of a milk carton.
Yeah.
Now about that, if you go from Johnny Gosh case to the Reagan era, okay, now the Reagan era, I grew up in that era.
Yeah.
There was highly people in government that were caught diddling kids.
Yeah.
In the Reagan White House. And whoever was the who's who in politics, corporations, media, you name it, the whole thing. They took your picture if you're in a provocative position with a child. Okay, this is some sick shit. They use it to blackmail you to keep you in line.
Yeah.
Now, if you go back about 91, this was when the conspiracy of silence. Now this is a documentary by the Discovery Channel, and this was highly controversial of the time because of the power of the GOP.
Yep.
Conspiracy of silence. Well, telling the story of victims of Lawrence Fishburne.
Shut my surveillance off.
Not Lawrence. He was a known financier in Nebraska. The home of the Boys Town. Started in 1917 by a priest.
Yeah.
Boys Town. So prominent Reagan era, Bush era politics really ran heavy in Nebraska.
Yeah.
And it dealt with, this guy himself was a known pedophile. But he went away not for that, but he went away for banking fraud. He did 15 years. But not on the pedophilia shit.
Yeah.
Everything from the 50s on down throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, even today with Epstien. The who's who, hey, names on the list, they're all involved. And they're blackmailed too. So, if you stop and think about it, closeted gay men were extorted, blackmailed, because back then, if you were gay and you were doing adult things with the same gender, back then they called it sodomy. And he did 20 years of that.
Yeah.
20 years. So by
until the 70s and late 80s that they really started to lighten up on all that.
Yeah.
And then you started seeing more and more homosexuality and particularly lesbian scenes in porno movies of the time. I remember a film from the 70s that my mom had. She had a VHS tape of this, and I happened to find it as a teenager. It was a porno from the 70s. It was just a big fucking orgy video called Behind the Green Door, and it dealt with a lot of interracial and lesbian scenes.
Things didn't really change until after Hoover died. Hoover died in 1972.
Yeah, I think this porno that I'm talking about was made in 1979. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But it had a lot of interracial and homosexual scenes in it.
The Green Door was done by the Mitchell brothers out of San Francisco.
Okay, what was the year?
It was about 1973 or 74.
74, after Hoover died. So yeah, that's like really where a lot of things kick-started was after his death. And we notice more and more that it's not just happening in government, but also Hollywood. They talked about it in the early 90s that Hollywood was filled with pedophiles. That Hollywood was a big pedophile ring. And, back in the 90s, nobody would accept that. Everybody was all gunning about Michael Jackson. It's like, oh, Michael Jackson this, Michael Jackson that.
Michael Jackson, he was there was no evidence of it at all. But the executives of Sony, which he owned half of that company, they did not want him because he was making money.
They didn't want him to have the Beatles catalog. He had exclusive rights to himself, nobody else. He owned and controlled the Beatles catalog.
Yeah.
Among many other things. He had a lot of pull. He pretty much owned Sony. He had Sony by the fucking cojones. And that's why they went after him so much. And inevitably, what led to his death. Similarly to Prince as well. Prince wanted control of his catalog.
Yeah.
And he started making us think about things. And the next thing you know, he drops dead from a fentanyl overdose, even though he had never been known to use fentanyl at all. It was just slipped to him in his regular medication, which I think he was just taking some aspirin, and they had switched out aspirin with fentanyl.
Was due to a heart. They said it was a heart ailment kind of thing.
Yeah, like I think he was either taking some prescription meds or he was taking some aspirin. Whatever it was, they switched out whatever he was taking with fentanyl. And bye-bye Purple Rain. All because Prince wanted his catalog and fought like hell to get the rights to his own music.
Here's the real downside to the industry. You as an artist are worth more dead than alive.
Yeah.
If you look at Tupac, his late mom, sued Suge Knight for the unfinished stuff.
Yeah.
And those were worth about $100 million.
Yeah. I mean,
and she sued to get him back so she could release him.
Yeah, because wasn't there a lot of stuff on those tracks that kind of alluded to certain things?
She wanted to release him herself because she wanted her son's legacy to be remembered. But here's a big fuck up though. His dad was never around, right?
Yeah.
So his dad sued his mom for half of his shit. He didn't win because he wasn't in his life. It was about money, but also to send her a message.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, it's really coming to a head nowadays that the government, the music industry, Hollywood is all run by pedophiles, and it's already been well documented that pretty much the bankrollers, not just the executives, but the owners of a lot of these labels and studios and production companies are Jewish. It's not just Hollywood elite that like Adam Sandler or William Shatner who are Jewish. And no, I'm not accusing Adam Sandler or William Shatner or any Jewish person in Hollywood of any sort of wrongdoing.
Yeah.
I'm just making an observation that the majority of these industries are run by people within the Jewish community. And some of them are undoubtedly upstanding citizens. Like, you hear of a lot of the good that Adam Sandler does. He's been a big advocate for women's rights, and some of his co-stars. I forget which female co-star it was, but like he cast her in a movie, and she had like a very small role, but he kept her busy on set because she was in an abusive relationship, and the only escape she had from this person was when she was working on set. So Sandler, knowing what was going on, went out of his way to make sure that she was busy on set, even if she didn't have any scenes to shoot that day, so that she could be away from her abuser. And I mean, you hear a lot of stories like that in Hollywood. Fucking Keanu Reeves.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, Brad Pitt.
Keanu Reeves. He went to. He used to date. He used to date Gwyneth Paltrow back in the day.
Yeah. Well, like you got a lot of good people in Hollywood, like Keanu Reeves. He does a lot of charity work. He's like legitimate charity work. John Cena, before he turned into a weirdo and got naked on stage, he was kind of the poster child for the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yeah.
I mean, so let's not say that there isn't some good to be had within this community, but for the most part, it is common knowledge that these industries are predominantly run by the Jewish community. And with the push of pedophilia and what's going on with Diddy, and then Epstien, all the accusations in the 90s about Hollywood being run by pedophiles, and, again, everything that's going on with Epstien now, and everything that's come out about Mossad, and what's going on with Israel, the dancing on 9/11, the U.S. ambassadors to Israel. I don't know if you're familiar with that story. Not long ago, there were two ambassadors to Israel at the U.S. Embassy in Israel. They were targets of Mossad gang stalking in Israel. Their house was broken into on at least 3 separate occasions, where one time the furniture was moved around, another time all the toilets were filled with excrement and not flushed. Somebody went in and took a dump in all their toilets and didn't flush it. And then the last time, right before they left, they came home and somebody had chopped the tail off their dog.
Shit.
And it's speculated, you know, I'm not accusing anybody, and I don't think anybody else is, but it is speculated that it was Mossad agents who were flexing on the U.S. ambassadors. Now, if you got Jews dancing on 9/11, you've got this happening to U.S. ambassadors, you've got the Israeli government, especially Netanyahu, saying that their plan is to drain the United States of its financial resources, and then when there's nothing left, just let the U.S. blow off into the four winds or something to that effect. Along with all this pedophilia and blackmail that seems to just be pointing a big red arrow right at Israel, it's almost like they want to create quote anti-Semitism or an anti-Jewish mindset within the United States and its people. I mean, just in the past few weeks, Connor pointed this out. Ever since this whole thing with the Trump Epstien cover-up started, anti-Israeli propaganda has skyrocketed. Grok 4 went full Hitler the night it was launched. Elmo went full Nazi. Somebody hacked into the official X account of Elmo, the puppet from Sesame Street, and went full. Yeah, Elmo the puppet went anti-Jew. Somebody hacked into the account and started pushing a bunch of anti-Israel propaganda. Not long after the Grok fiasco. And just in general, there is a lot of anti-Israel, anti-Jew sentiment flying around the internet. I mean, I log into X and I see it all the time. And it begs the question. Connor pointed out a while back that the Jewish people have been kicked out of 109 countries out of 191 countries that exist in the world. Now, I looked it up on Google, and Google says that's an anti-Semitic statement, that it was actually closer to 12 countries that people were kicked out of. And the reason being was due to government and financial collapse or near to it. And at which point it has to beg the question, whether it be 109 countries or just 12, to be kicked out of any countries,
to be honest,
raises some serious questions. And
I would not. Let me be honest here. I would not trust Google as a search engine at all. I would go somewhere else, man.
Oh no, I'm just pointing out, whether it be 109 countries or 12 countries, the fact that you were kicked out of any countries cited financial and government issues is greatly discerning, especially with what's happening now. What are we looking at? The Great Reset, which would entail a governmental and financial collapse of the government and financial institutions of the United States and other countries. Now, if other countries have experienced similar issues and are subsequently blaming the Jewish community, that would imply that people within the Jewish community were in positions of power that could have been instrumental in causing these issues. Because if you don't have people working in government or in the financial institutions of that country, how could you then place the blame on the Jews if they have no ties to the government or financial systems of that country? You have to have a tie in order to establish a connection, in order to make an allegation. So common sense would say that there were prominent Jewish people working in government and finance of these varying countries, whether it be 109 or just 12, that resulted in these issues.
Guess who else is Jewish?
Boom.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, yeah. It's said that Mark Zuckerberg didn't even develop Facebook, that some other people did, and he stole it. Similarly to how Bill Gates stole the original Microsoft program from his buddy.
Yeah.
It was just kind of history repeating itself. I mean, you see all these issues happening, and then, you know, what happened in Nazi Germany, you know, and I don't think anybody would say that what Hitler did was a good thing. But to go to the point where society, not just within the United States, but on a global level, is getting to the point where we don't condone what Hitler did, but we understand why he did it. It almost would suggest that it's deliberate. Like, how can you sit there and create such a matter of discontent within the communities in which you operate?
Exactly.
That everybody is now going, yeah, Hitler handled it the wrong way. Genocide maybe was not the way to go. But we do see that there's a problem here because now it's happening here.
Yeah.
I mean, and it kind of begs the question. I'm wondering, you know, it's been said that a lot of the people in the Jewish community that migrated to Israel only did so because they had nowhere else to go. They were either kicked out of these countries, or for whatever reason, Israel, in their push to have the Jewish people migrated through whatever means from whatever country they were in to Israel. And now you have Israel burning down Christian churches. You have Israeli citizens and prominent Israeli people saying that they spit on Christians, that they find them to be disgusting. It's like, dude, even if you don't agree with a person's theology, you don't sit there and spit on them, especially when you have diplomatic ties to a country that is predominantly, at least in its origins, a Christian nation, especially when they are financing you.
Exactly.
It's like saying, and to blackmail at that. The whole thing with Epstien, going back to that. I mean, what country? We're supposed to be allies with Israel. Israel is supposed to be our greatest ally, according to many sources. And, you know, if we're on good terms with Israel and they're an ally and they're our friends, you don't fucking spy on your friends. You don't blackmail your friends. You don't guilt trip them into giving you money to fund your expansionist campaign to reclaim your homeland.
Technically,
blackmail. You don't sit there and break into an ambassador's home to your country and cut off the tail of their fucking dog. I mean, who does that? Don't call me anti-Semitic.
Hey, bro.
What?
Technically, we helped create Israel.
We did.
Yeah.
We did it. And I'll get to that point in a minute, but I want to point out, you know, yeah, I'm going like kind of anti-Israel here, but you know what? The Jewish community, the Orthodox Jews have been very outspoken in saying that they were against the formation of Israel since its formation in the late 1940s. The Orthodox Jews have been against the formation of Israel. They are against Zionism. And I'm going to say it straight up. I've got Jewish ties by way of marriage. Okay? Don't sit there and say anti-Semitism to me, because I'll sit here and shove my dreidel right up your ass. Don't sit there and try to scream anti-Semitism.
Most of the Jews, they're
fucking word.
Most of the Jews, they're Orthodox, are in Russia.
Well, even here in the United States, there are many Orthodox Jews and organizations who are anti-Israel. I mean, I'm following on X. The TWRN account is actually following 2 Jewish community Facebook or X pages. For one is Jews against Israel, and the other one is Jews against Zionism. Okay, what is going on that even the Jewish community is saying this is bad? And I'm not sitting there saying that all Jews are bad. There's a lot of good Jewish people out there. I've known quite a few. I have family who are Jewish. Okay, so I can vouch that there are good Jewish people in the world who are just like you and me, just trying to make their way in the world. But there are some sick fucks in the world that are just ruining it for everybody. You know, like take Catholicism, for instance. Most Catholics are not pedophiles molesting altar boys. But because of what a few Catholic priests did, the whole religion got hit with a stigma. Same with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yeah, they kind of fell into that same trap too. And that same shit happened, and they went the same route and tried to cover it up and sweep it under the rug. And, you know, they really
the guy, Warren Jeffs.
Well, even recently, just the past few years, you know, forget Warren Jeffs. This is recent. Like, there have been cases within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints of Sunday school teachers molesting or grooming little kids. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints kind of got caught up in a little bit of trying to sweep it under the rug, kind of the same as the Catholics did. And just like the Catholics, it blew up in their face. But that's not to say that all Latter-day Saints are grooming your kids. In fact, most Latter-day Saints are good people, just like most Jews are good people, just like most Catholics are good people. We're just people, just trying to make their way in the world. But a few bad apples got to fuck it up for everybody. And that's what's happening here. Is you got a few bad apples in the Jewish community who just happen to be in positions of power, who are abusing their power, and I think are doing so deliberately to the detriment of the Jewish community in order to get them exiled from respective countries so that they have no choice but to go back to Israel. Think about it. We've got a rise of anti-Semitism in the United States. In Europe, you have got the flooding in of Muslim refugees who are the enemy neighbors of the Jews. Where are the Jews going to go in those situations where they're pretty much being alienated? They're going to have to go to Israel, right? I think this is a deliberate move by Israel and Mossad to pull the Jewish people out of the United States and Europe and have another influx to Israel.
Well, the thing is, not every Jew community wants to leave the United States.
No.
They're happy where they're at.
What are they going to do if there's anti-Semitism in the United States to the point where
it's everywhere?
It's effectively going to become another Hitler situation. What are you going to do if the United States government goes, okay, kill them all and let God sort them out? You know, because that's kind of what Hitler did. And right now we're at the point where, okay, we understand that that there's some Jewish-centered problems coming from the Jewish community, from people in the Jewish community. And that not all Jews are the problem. Just like in Nazi Germany, history is repeating itself. We are acknowledging that history repeated itself, but we would all agree in a general consensus that Hitler's kill them all like God sort them out philosophy probably was not the best way to go about it.
Well, the reason
we're
why
still at that point where we are not down with the genocide that Hitler.
After World War One, this was when they came up with the Treaty of Versailles.
Yeah, where initially they wanted Uganda, but then they wanted the Israeli territory, and it was, hey, don't concede to the Germans, because the Germans had already pretty much won that war, and they told Europe, hey.
Well, not just that.
Let's go back to the way things were before we started fighting.
You had Hitler.
Nothing has to
Himmler.
change.
Oh yeah, you had Hitler, Himmler. I feel the guys blaming the Jews for their own failure. It wasn't
even that. It was the Jews went to Europe and said, "Don't agree to the truce. We'll get the Americans involved, and you'll win the war. Just give us Uganda." And then they changed their mind and said they wanted the Israeli territory because, hey, it's their homeland. Why the fuck not?
Well, and Hitler blamed the Jews.
So this is history.
Why? The thing is,
not? The Jews wanted their land.
Germany was forced to pay a debt from World War One, which they paid off for nearly a century.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Hitler was a corporal when he took power. When he left the military, and he didn't like how things were running in Germany, so they started a party called the National Socialist Party.
Yeah.
Went from a political party to a military. And
which is really funny because both Democrats identify as democratic socialists and they say that they're anti-Hitler. That's some funny shit.
Yeah.
That's some straight funny shit. But it almost seems deliberate. Like, are you familiar with the word Holocaust? Do you know what that actually means?
No.
Holocaust in the Hebrew Tanakh refers to sacrifice. It is the Hebrew word for sacrifice. Now, why would the Germans or even Americans or Europeans refer to the mass genocide of the Jewish community as a Holocaust or a sacrifice? They weren't being sacrificed. Sacrifice entails you give up something in order to get something. That's not what happened.
They called them
Germany. That's not what Hitler was doing.
Well, the thing was
an eradication. And he wouldn't have used the word Holocaust. He wouldn't have used the Jewish word for sacrifice to describe what he was doing.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. That's a Jewish term that would have been ascribed by Jewish people, and at which point, who was making the sacrifice?
They were already beginning to commit crimes against humanity. I mean, period. You know.
Yeah.
Blame the Jews for look. After the war, they were jobless. They had no job. Nothing for themselves.
Yeah.
So who do they blame? The Jews. Why? Jews had their own business.
System collapsed.
It was an economic
and financial system in Germany was experiencing hardship, just like in other countries that Jews have been kicked out of. And then you have the issues of the gay movement, which was subsequently hijacked by the pedophiles, similarly to what's happening in the LGBTQ community, hijack of pedophiles by pedophiles in modern day. It was the same thing then that's happening now. That's why Hitler did the book burning. And, Connor pointed out that video where that African-American gentleman was watching a translation of Hitler's speech that was generated by AI, that was translated to English from German by AI, where it was talking about where Hitler was talking about why he was doing what he was doing, why he was burning books, because it was pro-gay, pro-pedophilia material that was being circulated in society and in schools, just like it is now. Sexualizing the youth. And, a lot of that had to do with the Jewish community because, again, they had, just like they are now, positioned themselves in positions of government, finance, and media. So you had all these issues taking place. Hitler goes, okay, kill them all, let God sort them out. It seems like situational design, and they're just repeating the same formula. In World War II, they put themselves in a position to where they were being victimized and oppressed and for all intents and purposes exterminated. But what did they gain out of it? What did they gain from that sacrifice? They gained back the land of milk and honey. They gained Israel. They gained
started by a guy who's half Jewish himself.
Yeah. Yeah, but you figure, what did Israel get? What did the Jewish people gain out of that? They gained Israel. They gained the anti-Semitism card. They gained the right to accuse anybody who disagrees, to the point that anybody who disagrees with them, even if they do something bad, you can call them Hitler, a Nazi, anti-Semitism. They gained a lot from what happened from the Holocaust. So it's safer to say that maybe and I'm not speaking definitively here, I am merely speculating that maybe it was situational design. Create the crisis in order to achieve a specific outcome. They sacrificed 10 million of their own people in order to gain Israel and the anti-Semitism card. And we lost Revan. Don't know what happened to Revan. There he is. Revan, welcome back.
That sucked.
That happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's awfully funny.
I'm the one running his mouth. But
it's awfully funny.
Maybe. Go ahead.
It's awfully funny how one guy, half Jewish, a corporal in the German military, who was born in Austria, right?
Yeah.
Became a chancellor of Germany, then a Führer. We're going to run the rank for a dozen years. No, you did it in 12, asswipe.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't know is that there were a lot of people within the German government at that time. And those people were willing to sacrifice some of their own in order to propagate this movement, and then Hitler turned on all of them in his kill them all and let God sort them out. You know, they helped him become Fuhrer. And then he turned on them.
Yeah.
And just say, kill them all and let God sort them out. The players got played. But all the same, it was the Jewish, what it's looking like, and, you know, what, regardless of where you stand on history and with the Jewish people or whatnot, it seems like, I'm not saying it is or it isn't, I'm just saying it seems like the Jewish people, the prominent Jewish people in positions of power within Germany, set the dominoes, set things in motion to create a crisis of situational design. They would sacrifice their own in order to gain Israel and the anti-Semitism card. And now I think they're probably doing the same thing in order to drive out, in order to get the US and Europe to drive out their Jewish populations so that they have to go to Israel. Now, I wonder, now, since we're at that point, it then begs the question, what next? If all the Jewish communities from the West and Europe do go to Israel, what then? What happens when you got all the Jews back in Israel, back in the land of milk and honey? Because
it's a good question.
Yeah.
But also, here's mine. What if the Jews here or other places don't want to leave because they're doing well economically?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my uncle, who is Jewish, I'm not going to say which one of my uncles. I got quite a few, but you know, he married into a Jewish family, and you know, they're very prominent in business. I'm not going to say what business, but it's very successful. You know, he's not going to want to uproot and go to Israel. You know, especially considering he's pretty well up there in age.
Yeah,
he's an old man. Okay, so I know he's not going to want to relocate. I've got plenty of people who I've known within the Jewish community from when I worked and did that piece with the Interfaith Council. I met a lot of wonderful Jewish people in the Interfaith Council in Hemet, California. Wonderful people. Can't say I'm a fan of Jewish cuisine, but you know, as far as the people go, they were very wonderful people. Again, just good people living their lives. Most people aren't going to want to just uproot, whether they're prominent or not, and move to the other side to move to another country. It's just not practical. But if it's driven to the point to where it's to where you hit to where
the idea of that
stop at you and going, okay.
The idea of that.
Sort out the good from the bad. We just got to go on the mentality of kill them all, let God sort them out. But we're not going to kill you. Just get the fuck out. You worn out your welcome. Get the fuck out.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's going to get to the point of. And I think that's what Israel is prospectively trying to do. They're trying to create tension so high in the West that the West just goes, get the fuck out. It's like having a disgruntled roommate.
Yeah, but the thing is,
I'm going to give an example. Revan, you're aware of this. I had a roommate a few years ago when I lived in my old place. She came in and was just, from the moment she arrived, was a disrespectful fucking bitch. Even to the point that her own father was like, dude, what the fuck is your problem? This guy just gave you and your kids a place to live, and you're acting like a total bitch.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I see happening with Israel and the Jewish community here. Is I think Israel is trying to create such tension so as to paint the Jewish community as a whole with operating with the, or I should say living within the United States as the bad roommate, guilty by association, to the point where the owner of the house has to go, okay, look, this isn't working. You gotta go. I wish you well, but you gotta get the fuck out of my house.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, you have descendants of Jewish gangsters like Meyer Lansky and Royal Bandit,
Yeah.
who was a rival of Al Capone's during the 20s and 30s and shit. He's Irish, but I mean, just the case here. Thing is, they're not gonna leave.
Well, I mean, what choice are they gonna have? I mean, you probably won't get all of them out. But
no, but thing is,
there's probably gonna be a good amount of.
You have prominent Jewish gangsters. If they wanted to, they could have Netanyahu bumped off, man.
They could, but
Netanyahu,
say maybe they're a part of this. Say maybe they're a part of this. Oh, we got Jewish gangsters. We've got Mossad infiltrating our government. We've got Israeli operatives like Epstien blackmailing our politicians for Israeli benefit and to destabilize our government and financial systems here in the West. The contamination is just run so deep that it's just, would it just be easier to say, okay, everybody out, kind of like what happened in World War II when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. Most Japanese Americans weren't involved in that, weren't involved with what Japan did, but they were either put into camps because they couldn't leave, and the others were forced out of the country. The Japanese American community were forced to leave the country or go into concentration camps. And who's to say that wouldn't happen again here in the United States? And it didn't just happen with the Japanese Americans. It happened with quite a few cultures that proved to be problematic here in the West that we in the United States kicked out.
Japan. Tokyo Rose was an American citizen that was forced to do radio for the Japanese for the Empire of Japan.
Yeah.
And the GIs they loved her. They loved her. They were using her for propaganda against her will.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan pardoned her.
Yeah, because she was essentially a prisoner of war.
Yeah, she was accused of treason, but the thing is, Reagan pardoned her because she was, against her will, had to do at the time propaganda for the Empire of Japan.
Yeah, and I'm just pointing out that this has happened in the past. We have excommunicated people from our country. We have kicked entire cultures out of our country. Japan's just a very big, prominent example of that system. And that's not the first time it's happened. And who's to say that can't happen again, especially when you have a situation where you can't easily distinguish the good from the bad.
Yeah. That's like when can we see the monarchy of Hawaii again? Never.
Yeah.
Never. Because it was destroyed by greed.
Yeah. And it kind of makes me wonder if Trump isn't a part of this plan. Because, I mean, you can't be fucking that stupid to not see that this is becoming a problem.
Yeah.
And he's just bending to Netanyahu. I mean, he goes from, they don't know what the fuck they're doing, to, there's no Epstein list. Hi, Netanyahu. Let me bow down and, tongue punch your fart box. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, how do you go?
The reason that Netanyahu was removed the first time was that the people were tired of his bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, he's a war criminal. And the only reason he's in power right now is because he keeps the country in a state of armed conflict. Therefore, there can't be a change of electoral powers.
Yeah.
He's essentially got the country under martial law so that he can stay in power. And
the world courts.
You've got this massive flex from Israel and the United States. Trump is not an idiot. He's either a part of it. He's got to be a part of it.
The world courts. If you look at the world courts, they have a arrest warrant for Netanyahu, and the later of Hamas. Yeah. They have a global arrest warrant, and you had DC wanting to go after the world courts. Like, why?
Yeah, I mean, if anything needs regime change, it's Israel. I mean, we talk about needing regime change in Iran, which is the last of the countries connected to the Middle Eastern wars that got started after 9/11. That's literally the last piece of the board. And now we're all about
watch the next guy.
In Israel.
Watch the next guy will be another Israeli guy in Iran.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look it up online. It's like, why is Israel our greatest ally? Oh, because they provide intelligence to the Middle East. Well, if the Middle East were stabilized because Israel weren't putting in freaking the Taliban and all this other bullshit and, doing their expansion and all their everything else that's going on there wouldn't be need to sit there and run reconnaissance on these countries because everybody would be getting along.
Yeah.
And, Trump sits there and fucking talks shit on Vladimir Putin, saying Putin needs to back down when we know full well it's Zelensky. I mean, a fucking 5-year-old with earplugs and a bandana over his eyes could fucking see that it's Zelensky. That's the fucking problem there. But yet we're aligned with Zelensky and not Vladimir Putin, who is very much pro-America and wants Russia to be just like America. I mean, if Trump were, and this is why I have to make the argument that Trump is not on our side, but is on side of the globalist agenda. Because common sense would say, okay, Zelensky's obviously the problem. Russia wants to be America, number 2. You have all these smaller countries. You have the whole rest of the world. You think of America and Russia as the mom and pop of the fucking world. And you've got all these other countries who are essentially the kids pitting mom and pop against each other in mommy and daddy's ear, pitting mom and pop against each other. When in truth, mom and pop need to come together, forming a new alliance, and look at the rest of the world and go, okay, kids, we figured out your little game. You're all going to sit down. You're going to shut the fuck up. You're going to play nice. Or mama and papa going to bust out the belt and whoop some ass. That would be the common sense thing to do. Break off from NATO and leave NATO. If Trump had a brain and was on the side of the American people, common sense would dictate you leave NATO, you form an alliance with Russia, you form that mom and pop alliance with Russia, and you just look at the rest of the world and go, okay, Mom and Pop are on the same page now. Kids, sit down and shut up. Y'all mind? Y'all stay out of each other's fucking bedrooms, and Mama and Papa won't have to whoop your ass. Otherwise, you get ruly, Mama and Papa both gonna bust out the belt and start whooping some ass. And I guarantee you, that would be exactly how it would play out. Because you got the two strongest nuclear powers on the planet. Russia goes and becomes America #2. And you got the two superpowers with the most nuclear weapons no longer fighting with each other, but are on the same page. Oh, yeah, the kids are going to fucking sit down and be quiet real fucking quick.
Yeah, very quick, man.
And at which point, you now have the leverage to go, okay, hand over all your globalists so that we can have a tribunal and eliminate these assholes. Or, we're going to have to take, certain measures, whether it be sanctions, tariffs, boots on the ground, a warhead or two shoved up your ass kind of thing. God forbid you got to get to that point, but, all I'm saying is, you got the leverage at that point. You form that alliance, you got the fucking leverage. And you don't have to be a fucking dictator and run the whole fucking world. You just go, okay, Mama and Papa are on the same page now. What now, kids? What you gonna do? Your little chirping in Mommy and Daddy's ear, keeping us pitted against each other, ain't working no more. We're on the same page. What the fuck you gonna do now? Your game's up. Go to your rooms. Go to your rooms and be quiet, or we're gonna beat your ass.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the common sense thing to do, but we don't see that happening.
Because the thing is, the the reason is, if we did that and we were all on the same page, on common ground, where, let's do this. But of course,
it's a great idea. It is literally the perfect plan. But it is the most common sense plan on the planet. Putin wants Russia to be America #2. You got the kids obviously chirping in both parents' ear, keeping them pitted against each other. This is obvious. This is obvious to a 5-year-old.
It is very obvious, because the thing is, when Reagan was in office, he sat down with Boris, Gorbachev.
Yeah.
And this was a good discussion they had. There are things that they disagree with, but yet they still made on civil terms.
Yeah.
So Gorbachev, when Reagan said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall," what happened?
Yeah, the
wall came down.
Which was the quote-unquote end of communism. And that's where NATO should have been disbanded. Because the Soviet Union was no longer a threat, because the Soviet Union no longer existed.
There's a building in somewhere in Europe. It was the headquarters for every communist country, from Russia, China, Cuba, you name it.
Yeah.
Yeah, world leaders go there and do their shit.
Yeah. Kind of like the
You see it now. You see it now. It's a huge shell of itself. Huge shell.
Yeah. But you figure, if Donald Trump was really on the side of the American people and not on the side of the globalists that he claims, this would be what he would do. I
don't think he is.
You would see Netanyahu remove from power. There'd be a regime change in Israel. you would see Gavin Newsom indicted for what happened in the Palisades. I mean, I'm surprised
Not just
Gavin Newsom
that.
has not been arrested at this point. I mean, you have any fire marshal in the United States can tell you that those fire systems have to be maintained and inspected regularly, especially in California where there is so much seismic activity and earthquakes. Okay, they have to check those underground systems regularly to make sure that they weren't damaged from a recent earthquake. They have to be. And then you have the reservoir being drained,
fire.
And water being run off into the ocean, and the insurance of the Palisades being cut off, and the fire department not being deployed for 24 hours. I mean, this is the evidence of arson and this being deliberate is astronomical.
Newsom
should be in jail for that
wants to turn California into a smart state.
Yeah. He should be in jail for this shit. And then he turns around after he and the mayor of the Palisades that told Trump that the people could go back in there and start cleaning up and rebuilding, and sells those properties out from under the owners to his corporate buddies so that they could build low-income housing and apartments, violating private property rights. It's like, we're just going to sell this right out from under you for a fraction of the cost, for a fraction of its value to my buddies, because fuck you, that's why. Fuck
that can be challenged too.
Rights, fuck constitutional private property rights on properties that your family has owned for the better part of a century, maybe longer, and yet this asshole isn't in jail. I mean, I'm honestly surprised that nobody who has been displaced has gone, you know what? Bang, pow, boom. Fucking go after him with a boomstick. I mean, you had a freaking pharmaceutical CEO killed just out of the blue because people have had enough of this shit. I mean, I'm honestly surprised somebody has not snapped and said, okay, bad monkey, pop.
Oh, yeah.
And it seems to be going that same way with Trump. I mean, the American people, the majority of the American people are awake to what's going on. They're awake to not just the corruption in the United States government, but to the globalist agenda. And they elected Trump to dismantle the globalist system and put those people in jail to provide a peaceful revolution, a peaceful renaissance in place of a violent revolution. Now, if Trump doesn't deliver on the peaceful revolution and the peaceful renaissance, then what alternative are the people going to be left with but to go, okay, violence is the only option left?
Yeah.
At what point do we cross the line and say, okay, our vote on peaceful revolution
there needs to be.
Now it's time to go full 1776 old school style. At which point,
we need to have people to think back and realize we need a mindset like Machiavelli, man.
Well,
to really understand the
we're not
world,
heading
man.
into that mindset. I mean, we've already got a big pharma CEO that was killed recently.
Yeah.
The MAGA support for Trump has gone down, 8% since the Epstien fiasco 2 weeks ago? The majority of Americans are screaming for the heads of Bill Gates and Fauci. Most everybody's awake.
They mentioned it. They mentioned it during his first term as well.
Yeah, they did. But at what point does the mind of the majority of Americans just snap and go, okay, today's the day we go violent revolution? I mean, would it not seem that Trump is pushing the American people in that direction?
Yeah.
You know, forget civil war. It's going to be a full-on 1776 revolutionary war. And, you know, if Trump is actually doing this and he's trying to push the American people towards a violent revolution, he really needs to stop and think twice. Because the Pentagon, and he better fucking talk to his officials at the Pentagon and ask for those reports. Because the Pentagon ran simulations, several hundred simulations of different scenarios where of what would happen if the United States went to war with its citizens. And in every simulation, the United States government lost.
Yeah, because think about it. How many people per capita in the United States have weapons right now?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, at which point, if Trump is in office and he's pushed people to this point, he's going to go from being the middleman between the globalists and the people to being the middleman separating the people from the globalists. And at which point, who's he better be afraid of more? The 1% or the 99%? Because it's going to be no bueno. The United States government,
I would bet my bottom dollar. I would bet my bottom dollar that his fear would be the 99%.
Yeah, history will favor the 99% for sure. But he needs to stop. Who does he need to be backing here?
They need to be backing up, man. But of course, you got to understand too that he has people that are loyal to him that will fight for him in the military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you push the majority of the American people to the point where even people in the military are going, okay, peaceful revolution ain't going to happen. Violent revolution is the only answer. I mean, at what point does the American populace reach the point where that flip is switched? And is Trump really thinking clearly if he is trying to push people to that point?
Yeah.
Clearly if, you know, Alex Jones says he thinks that Trump may have been scared by something that he found in the Epstien files. Something got him spooked. Something that spooked his ass.
His name.
Yeah. But
he was told that, if it was just bullshit, his name's in the list, man.
Well, if it was just bullshit, like the same old stuff from before, that wouldn't scare him. It didn't scare him then. Why would it scare him now? There's got to be something bigger that he's been threatened with or been made aware of that has scared him shitless. Like he just saw a fucking ghost.
Schumer said the CIA would tear him apart, you know, and he ain't lying, man.
Yeah. But, you know, Trump really needs to think about the direction
I'm really tired. I'm really tired of people saying that he's the next Kennedy. He's not. But if he is, I wouldn't drive through Dealey Plaza, man.
Like I told my boss earlier today, we were talking about it. Like he asked, you know, what are you gonna do if Obama does get arrested? Because like Trump's going headstrong after Obama right now. I mean, I looked at my boss and said, honestly, I'm gonna have to go home if this happens while I'm at work. I'm gonna have to go home because I'm gonna shit my pants.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, the thing is, it's not looking good for him though, because if you think about it, if we're led to another civil war, which
Or
I
even a
wouldn't want
violent
to do,
revolution like 1776, part 2. Carry on.
this would be more bloody, man.
Oh, for sure. I don't know that it will head to a civil war, but a revolution, a second American Revolution, a violent one, is looking more and more plausible. And I don't want to see that happen. I am not advocating for violence. I am not advocating for civil unrest or government overthrow. I'm just acknowledging the reality of the situation and where I see this prospectively heading. Now, Israel already stated that they wouldn't mind seeing America fall and be scattered to the four winds after they've taken America for all they could.
Well, the thing is,
exact quote,
they
but it's
they,
along
they may
those
think
lines.
that. Here's what I'm thinking here. If they're thinking that they're going to get the U.S. that way, what if they think that and it blows them in their face when they realize we're not going to be playing this game? Because we don't need this shit. They're wanting to push this far. But the thing is, there's a lot of people in this country alone. We're the only country where every single American citizen has a gun. Has a gun, right?
Damn near, yeah.
And you know that, yeah, good luck with that, and how many are willing to use it?
Yeah. And it's not me or anybody advocating for violence. I'm just pointing out. It's like if we see the government, especially Trump, seems to be pushing the American people, in that direction. We are heading.
They need to be careful. They need to be careful because the thing is, you have these Democrats and these GOPers. They need to be careful. They need to certainly be careful because the thing is, if they push us too far, dude.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're pushing that direction. They're pushing people towards a violent revolution. They're pushing people towards, quote, anti-Semitism.
If they push just a little bit more and shit, man, I tell you what, every motherfucker in DC is gone. Gone, dude.
Yeah, and it's going to happen to such a point that they're not even going to see it coming. It's just going to be, boom. Like, you're going to see CEOs walking into buildings and they're just getting capped on their way in. Same with politicians. You're gonna see politicians' houses maybe getting firebombed, or maybe a fucking dirty bomb getting dropped in DC. I mean, there's any number of bad scenarios that this could go, and it's gonna result and it's just gonna be bad, and it doesn't need to happen. Peaceful revolution is still a plausible reality. But Trump needs to get it together and stop playing these games for whatever reason and get back on board with his base and his constituents and go, okay,
there needs to be...
I need to make good on my campaign promise before all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
He needs to get back on track and steer the American people away from a violent revolution. He needs to end this abusive relationship with Israel and find a good way of
Hillary needs to be locked up too.
The Mossad and CIA in the CIA blackmail bullshit without alienating the American Jewish community. He needs to sit down and figure out a semi-long-term plan that he can implement in the short term that is going to fix this anti-Semitism problem, this New World Order Great Reset problem. He needs to get back on board with the American people and bring about the peaceful revolution that he promised and not push us in the direction that we seem to be being herded into. Because it's not going to go good for anybody. It's not going to go good for the people. It's not going to go good for the government.
Yeah.
It's just going to be bad news for everybody. And I don't want to see that happen.
No.
So I got it. I have to speak out about it. I've been going on so bad tonight. Just within an hour and a half, I've nearly lost my voice. Because I'm just so angry and upset and passionate about this. We need to stop this before all hell breaks loose. We need to shift away from violent 1776 and get back on track to a peaceful renaissance. We need to shift away from anti-Semitism and being 100% anti-Jew to going, okay, weed out the bad, keep the good.
Look, I'm not anti-Jewish. I'm pro-humanity, man.
Yeah, I'm not anti-Jewish either. And I'm not racist. I'm not a skinhead. You know, my head shaved because I'm fucking going bald, not because of fucking racism. I mean,
my name.
I fucking celebrate Hanukkah for Christ's sake.
Yeah, my name. My first name is Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
It's Hebrew.
Nice.
And stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I think a great majority of us probably have Hebrew ties. I mean, you'd be hard stretched to find an American who doesn't have somebody in his family tree that was Jewish. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody like that.
Somewhere in the family tree.
In their family tree, you know, whether currently living in their genealogy, or you know, maybe a generation or two back. You know, you'd be hard pressed to find that.
Yeah.
Especially if you come from a bigger family like mine. I mean, I come from a pretty big family.
My dad's family hails from Mexico.
Yeah.
And not everyone in Mexico is Mexican.
No.
Some are indigenous because of the mixed blood between Spain and other
Incas, Aztecs, Mayans, and others.
You have your Mayans, Aztecs, and
the Incas.
The Incas, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's quite a few. And
very, very few.
Yeah. And, you know, you've got a lot of white people who live down there. You know, you got a lot of people who came from the West and moved down into Mexico. And, you know, migrated to California and then down into Mexico when it was still part of Mexico.
Yeah.
You know, you got it's not as big of a melting pot as the United States is, But it's pretty close. You know, same with Canada. You've got British speaking, you've got French speaking, you've got American speaking. They've got quite a bit of a melting pot themselves.
Huge, man. Very, very, man. Very, 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 very huge.
Yeah. And that's probably why Connor is on hiatus right now. He's up there sharpening his ice skates, getting ready to come down and steal all my cheese. Anyway, you know, I think we can pretty well call it a night. I would definitely say Trump really needs to take a step back and start steering people away from the anti-Semitism and violent revolution track that he seems to have set the American people on. We need to shift away from this. We need to acknowledge what's going on. How the United States is being played.
The MAGA movement is leaving Trump.
Yeah. And, you know, Trump seems to be trying to save face now, which is great. But he's got to really bust his ass now. He's got to go into overtime now and get the American people off the track that he's set in motion. He has set very bad things in motion. And he needs to shift us away from that and back on the original plan.
They know for a fact Epstien did not kill him. He didn't kill himself. He was murdered, man.
Either that or he was freaking flown out and is living in the Philippines or something, or Thailand. And, you know, they just freaking killed the stand-in. And he's just living his best life in Taiwan or Thailand or wherever the fuck the conspiracy theory says he got dropped.
Oh, yeah, man.
But the American people, Trump needs to get back on point. He needs to shift us away from these dynamics that he has set the American people on. And the American people need to take a step back and see the game that's being played against them and not fall into this trap.
We all know that if they release the files, they're going to be heavily redacted, man. Heavily.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because that's another point that I've been aiming to address here. You know, one of the arguments that I believe that Trump made was that if the Epstein shit came out, it would collapse our government and financial institutions. Bullshit. Yeah, a great majority of Washington and congressmen and whatnot will be in prison. There is no doubt about that. But there will still be more than enough, even if you just had 5 senators or 5 congressmen, you can delegate these seats to a handful of people until the next election cycle. That's not a problem. You can keep the government running with a handful of people. You don't need close to 500 motherfucking jerk-offs convoluting the waters. You can run this country with a handful of people in Congress and in Senate and delegate congressional seats and congressmen to the next in line, just like you do with the presidency. Okay, if the president is compromised, the vice president takes charge. If the vice president takes charge, then the next person in line and the next person in line. You can do the same fucking thing with state and local government officials as well.
Well, you look at the speaker. It's president, vice president, speaker of the House.
Well, whether it be president, a congressman, a senator, a governor, a mayor, or little fucking Jimmy. Okay? You can delegate congressional seats to those who remain. You can spread out. You can spread out those seats and put however many people. Say it's like 5 people. You got 50 states divided up against 5 people. You got 10 states per person. Okay. That's doable.
There's a game I come across.
On a short-term basis until you get to the next election cycle. That's doable. And that's just 5 motherfuckers.
There's this...
you know, like to quote Jack Nicholson from... Sorry to cut you off, bro. To quote Jack Nicholson from Mars Attacks, I want the American people to know that they still got 2 out of 3 branches of the government working for them, and that ain't bad. Okay? Trump needs to get into that mindset. Yeah, a huge chunk of Washington and state officials are going to go to prison. Delegate the power out. Delegate these seats out amongst those who remain. Appoint the next in line in terms of local governments, like governors and mayors and whatnot. Delegate that to the next person in line until such time that you can get new people in as per on the next election cycle, which is coming up in just a few months, right?
Yeah.
You got midterms coming up in a few months.
Yeah.
Okay, if you make the arrest today, you got midterms in a few months. Okay, this is not a problem. This is doable.
The only thing that bothers me...
Don't piss on my fucking head and tell me it's raining, Trump. Come on.
There's one thing that got to me that bothers me a little bit here. Mentioning the Civil War or the someone came out with the game where it's state against state. You create allies with another state. And I'm thinking
Civil War, state versus state. But if it becomes a revolutionary war and the Republicans and the Democrats are on the same side going, Trump, bad monkey, get bad monkey.
I was like,
okay. I mean, if the Republicans and the Democrats are on the same side, regardless of whether they agree on any given issue, if the general population, both Republican and Democrat, go, Trump bad, and it goes from civil war to violent revolution.
Yeah.
And at which point, again, every war game scenario that the Pentagon ran, the United States lost. In every scenario. They ran every possible scenario they could think of. And in every scenario, they lost in every simulation.
Yeah.
The American people win every fucking time. If this is where Trump is trying to push us, he needs to stop and think, because this is no win. Okay, this is very bad. This is a no win. This is Harry Carey, as Alex Jones has put it. This is super coup, as Alex Jones has put it. This is literal suicide. Trump needs to think.
It's a huge political suicide, man.
It's not just political suicide, it's literal suicide. Do you think Trump wouldn't wind up dead?
He would.
If the people went against the government and said Trump bad? Oh, he's toast.
When you get off here,
look at the trailer. It's time to call it. So I'm gonna leave off with these words. Trump, nobody wants a violent revolution, and we don't need to be a nation of anti-Semitism. We need to get back on point here. You need to get, I don't know what the hell you're doing, Trump, but you need to get back on point and lead the American people away from this violent revolution path and this path of anti-Semitism and get us back on what you campaigned on, which was a peaceful revolution and an end of the globalist system. And the American people need to take a step back, take a breather, see the situation for what it is, and not allow themselves to be played and forced into a situation that is going to get people killed. We don't want violence if it can be avoided. Think smart. That's all I can say. It's just
yes.
think.
You need to think. You need to think smart. And we don't need. I mean, that's the last thing we want to have. But you got these 3-piece suit wearing morons, fake smile, fake hair. You know, wants to push a narrative. Now
they do, but we got to see that for what it is. Trump needs to stop being a globalist puppet with Zelensky and Netanyahu's hand up his ass, and the American people need to see the game for what it is and not play into it. It's like being in a narcissistic relationship. The best way to win in a narcissistic relationship is to not play. The best way to win against a narcissist is to not play. And that's all I can say to Trump and the American people. And in the meantime, it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning here. I need to get to bed. I got to work tomorrow. I'm losing my voice. Reverend, any last thoughts?
Check out the trailer for The Division. The Division.
What is that?
It's a game. And the trailer would tell you something as well. I mean, some things just tell you a little bit, a little piece of some reality here, you know. And there's a game again, then there's a sequel to it. But the Division, dude. Also, Homefront: The Revolution, man.
All right, yeah, definitely people should check that out. And also, check out the YouTube channel, The Conspiracy Files. Check out his documentary on chickens and bulls. That is a huge eye-opener. It just shows how deep this blackmail game has been going on and how deep it can actually run and how crazy it actually gets. It's well worth the watch, guys. Go check out. And he's got scores of other content there. Amazing work. Yeah. Eye openers left and right. Definitely go check them out. Again, the YouTube channel.
I've been watching this guy for a long time, man.
Files. Yep, The Conspiracy Files. Revan's been watching him for a long time.
Revan hell yeah.
Turned me on to him this morning. That was a huge, I've been away for years and my mind was blown. Like, seriously, go check it out, guys. But
yeah, man.
In the meantime, I'm calling it, guys. This is Tin Man with the Resistance on behalf of Revan and to Connor, who couldn't be with us tonight. This is Tin Man with the Resistance. If you're watching this, you are the Resistance.